I think I realized that it might be a career for me in medicine as early as grade school. I was encouraged, by my parents who both were teachers, and then I had an uncle who was a dentist. So he was kind of my early inspiration, to pursue a career in medicine. So when I was a medical student, so I was at Cornell in New York, and originally I wanted to be a heart surgeon because I did research with one of the cardiac surgeons between my first and second year of medical school. So through my early experience with research, and early mentorship, I was kind of steered towards being a heart surgeon, but when I was a resident in general surgery, I rotated at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York, which is one of the top cancer centers in the country. And I was able to rotate on the thoracic service there, and I was really, intrigued by the, sort of the complex cancer care that took place. Not only did we operate on the patients, but we also, took care of them in terms of their, cancer diagnosis and their surveillance and additional treatment if needed. So it's kind of more of a team approach. And also, there's a lot of basic science and, associated with cancer. So I think, given all those different elements, I felt sort of pulled towards being a thoracic surgeon as opposed to a cardiac surgeon. So it was kind of a change in course there, but unexpected, but I think it was the right decision. So I think, most of the research that I do is kind of covers multiple different areas. Recently, I've become interested in disparities research, particularly healthcare disparities for lung cancer surgery for African American patients. I think one of the focuses of healthcare policy in the coming years should really look into the underlying causes for these racial disparities that we see in the rate of surgery for African American patients, and then access to care, and then also social determinants of health, which I think are under researched and not fully understood. So I think that's an area of research that really needs a lot of funding, because there's really no reason for in the richest country in the nation or in the world, and all of the medical technology that we have, there's really no reason for there to be such a disparity in outcomes between races in our country. First, I think we have to identify, that there is a problem. And I think because of COVID-19 and sort of the disparities in the death rate for patients who, have the COVID-19 infection, it disproportionately affects people of color. And I think if you look beneath the surface as to why that is, it's because of pre-existing, conditions, either diabetes, heart disease, morbid obesity. All of these factors, really, are directly correlated with a higher risk of death, from this terrible disease. But if you look at other diseases, like heart disease, any major medical health issue, it disproportionately affects people of color. And this may be, related to, where patients live, their living conditions, their diet, their overall health condition. So I think, because of COVID-19, it's really refocused the spotlight on that disparity and sort of its impact. Yeah, well, I mean, I think, I think essential part of who we are as, humans. I think, what separates us is, humanity. And, I think it all starts, with that. I mean, each patient that I see them as an individual person, who has, certain, problems and, issues that have to be addressed, on an individual basis, regardless of, who they are, where they come from, what they look like. Doesn't really matter to me. I see a human who has a medical issue that they came to see me for to help them solve. So that's kind of where I start. I listen to what they have to say, and I treat them with respect, and I treat them as I would want to be treated. So I think as long as you approach things that way, people will notice that. And unfortunately, it should, in my opinion, it should be the norm, but it isn't always that way. And I think that's one of the issues with medicine today is it needs to be more personalized, and we need to take more time and listen to our patients and treat them as individuals. I think if you approach things from that vantage point, it'll make a huge difference. And it's an important part of the physician-patient relationship, and it quickly establishes trust, which is, the centerpiece, for that relationship. Yeah, I think leadership is it's a difficult thing to teach. I think people are kind of born with qualities of a leader, and then they receive mentorship from strong leaders, and then they themselves become leaders. But I think the basic principles are integrity, transparency, and then hard work. I think those are the essentials to strong leadership. And it's really just providing guidance and I guess structure, and when you see something that isn't right, you have to say something. You have to try to fix it. And a lot of leadership really is problem solving, but you have to really step up in certain situations with crises, and make an impact, and contribute to the solution to the problem. That's kind of how I personally view leadership. And I would encourage young people, to join clubs, become active in their communities to solve problems that affect society as a whole. I think if someone complains, I tell them, look, you have to, come up with a solution, to the problem. Complaining doesn't get us anywhere. We have to, analyze the problem, come up with solutions, and then work as a team to, solve the problem. Complaining usually doesn't lead to anything. So that's kind of, one of my philosophies. If you have a complaint, you need to have a solution, not a complaint, to the problem. So that's kind of how I approach it. I mean, I think it's a great honor to receive this award. I think it symbolizes essentially, that what you just said is overcoming adversity. If you look at James Buster Douglas and his journey, back in 1990, in that fight against Mike Tyson, no one expected him to beat Mike Tyson to win that fight. But he trained hard. He dedicated himself to putting forth the best effort, and then he stuck to the basic principles of what he was taught, and the fundamentals, and he won. And he essentially shocked the world when he won that fight. So I think this award does symbolize overcoming adversity. And for myself, growing up as an African American male in the United States, is not, easy. Um, I think structural racism is certainly, reality that all, young black males face in this country. And it takes a lot of discipline and, guidance and sometimes luck to, succeed in life because the barriers are there at every step and every turn. And it's just a constant, overcoming these obstacles and barriers. So I think, any, African American male who's achieved success in this country knows all about overcoming adversity because they had to get where they are. So I think they fully understand that. So I have to say this is my first attendance of a live game. I've seen, games on television, Florida A&M and, Southern University. I've seen them play in the past, but this will be the first time that I've ever attended a live game. But I think, the historically black colleges and universities are very meaningful to the black community because this was or these institutions were the only places where we could receive higher education, when there were, the predominantly white schools were segregated. So I think there's an important legacy that we should all, recognize and celebrate. So for me, it would be very special, to attend this classic. I'm looking forward to it. So I think, there's a lot of social issues that I think, we mentioned one earlier, healthcare disparities that, affect African Americans. I think there's a lot of structural or elements of structural racism that we need to really revisit and look at. And one is, the wealth or wealth gap or disparity, that exists, in our communities. Also, discrimination in housing. All of these things really, impact not only our well-being but also our health, and these are all interrelated. So I think, this is the time where, we need to start looking at these social issues and coming up with some policy changes. And, we may have to, work through local government, federal government, to really, find ways to reverse, these trends that have been in existence for decades. Well, I mean, I think that is should be the central goal. Working together, through professional organizations, to create essentially a grassroots, a movement, to meet with, politicians and community leaders, business leaders, to help, create, programs that will, address these issues. We have to kind of use a collective voice, to gather, support, for, enacting change. So I think, this is a great opportunity before us, and we should, certainly seize the moment. Well, since, I'm a Ohioan now, I have to go with Central State University, which is located in Wilberforce, Ohio. So I have to show my state allegiance. So I'm going to go with Central State University.